Just a trigger warning on this episode, it's got some pretty graphic descriptions of violence, so it's probably not suitable for young ears. Hey, I'm Julian Morgans, and you're listening to Scammerland. This is episode 3, and over the last 2 episodes, we've looked at how most online scams are run by people living in modern slavery through Southeast Asia. We've followed 2 people who have been abducted and sold to run scams, Catalea and Small Q. And at the end of this episode, we're actually going to check back in with Q as he comes up with an escape plan. But first, I want to look at the other side of the equation, the people who are getting scammed. So we're going to start this episode by meeting an American guy named Troy Gochenour. Back in 2021, Troy got scammed and ended up almost bankrupt and considering suicide. But then he discovered that the people that scammed him were actually victims themselves. And since then, he's been working to expose Asia's scammer farm system. Welcome to Scammerland. Hey Troy, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Can we start with an introduction? Just tell me your name and what you do with yourself.
So my name is Troy Gochenour. I'm in Columbus, Ohio. I was living in New York City for 13 years, wanted to be in show business, moved back here in 2020. I now work at a data center.
But before all of this began, Troy, he was actually an aspiring actor.
When I was a kid, I wanted to be in the movies. I wanted to be a movie star, but when I went to New York, I was probably 35 years old. But I didn't want to, go to my deathbed one day wishing that I'd done it. And it was quite a time living in New York City.
In New York, Troy was getting roles in stage shows, and maybe you can still hear a bit of the thespian in his voice. But in 2020, COVID struck, and the world ground to a halt. The auditions all dried up, along with his day job, and Troy moved back home to Columbus, which really wasn't easy. Did it feel like it was the end of an era when you arrived back in Columbus?
It did. The biggest thing was that I wasn't sure what I was going to do with my life. If I wasn't pursuing acting, I really didn't know what I would do. So having no money and I was in my 40s at that point. So that was pretty much the lowest point in my life when I was scammed.
Something you might be noticing is how the scams industry targets people who are at a crossroads. Think about Q, who was working in his internet cafe and dreaming of something more, and Catalea, who had just lost her dad, and Troy, who found himself broke and a bit directionless. At every level, this industry, it just feeds on vulnerability.
Yeah, I was starting my life over, so I had to find a job, and eventually I did. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll date. I don't really like online dating, but let me put my name in. Let me do some Facebook dating. It's free and whatever. What could go wrong with Facebook dating? So I signed up, and I got a message from a supposed girl who lived in Seattle, and we started chatting on a day-to-day basis about things, the weather, did you eat today? What did you eat today? Where do you work? What do you do? Supposedly this woman was successful. She was supposedly part Asian and part Ukrainian.
Did she send you a photo of herself?
Yes, she did. And it was this beautiful woman. So I was pretty excited to get to talk to a woman like this.
Troy didn't realize, but whoever he was talking with in Myanmar had just got to the part of the script where they had to send a selfie. Because all of these scammers, they're pretending to be women. Most of these scams, they're romance scams, and they're directed at men. So people like Q and Catalea, they've got to send a photo of some random model or a woman from the compound, and they claim it's a selfie. And according to Q, this strategy works nearly all the time.
You send a picture, and men about, beautiful girls, they fall so easily. So they were like, oh, you look beautiful. I don't know you. So that's how the conversation were going on in the first place.
These photos of these girls, where did you get those from?
They gave them to us. And actually, these were real people inside there that we were working with. But they were under also, false They didn't do it with their own will. They were allied to be models in Bangkok because I was able to access one of these models to communicate with her. She was from Belarus, and she told me her story, which was very sad that actually they were used sometimes sexually.
Oh man, that's horrible.
But like I said, Troy, he didn't know any of this. He thought that he'd actually met someone special who just happened to be really attractive.
The photo was actually an influencer in Hong Kong. Later on, I spoke to that person after I was scammed, and so it clearly was not them. Those photos were stolen.
Right, okay. Tell me about what, like, at its best moment, when you were getting scammed, but you thought that you were starting a relationship. Like, what did that relationship feel like? Was it pretty exciting?
It felt great. I mean, it's always nice to be loved and admired for who you are. It always feels nice to get that text of, hey, thinking about you, and how are you doing? Did you eat today? It's nice to get that stuff. I think probably every one of us would love to get that. Romance scams are nothing new. This is just a whole different version of a romance scam, and they really have it down to a science.
Were you falling in love?
I think I was falling in love with this person. It's kind of interesting how a lot of times we say things online in social media or whatever that we would probably never say someone we'd never say face to face.
Are you saying that you told this person stuff that you'd have struggled to articulate in real life?
I think so. Yeah, I was definitely telling this person things that I would not have told them in real life. Certainly not as early as I did tell them.
Yeah. You fell hard.
Yeah, I did. That trust built up very quickly, perhaps more quickly than it would have face to face. And I think I'm normally a trusting person, and I wanted to trust her. But yeah, I've learned my lesson.
Hey, we're going to take a quick ad break here. But when we come back, Troy describes how the scam shifted gear and he found himself borrowing money just to keep up. Hey, welcome back. So, Myanmar has become infamous for pig butchering scams. That's what all of these dating scams, that's what they're called. And the idea is that the people like Troy, they're being fattened up like pigs before they're slaughtered. And by that I mean scammed. And Troy, right now in this chronology, he's still in the fattening stage and he's enjoying it.
She always wanted to compliment how good I looked. In the morning, I would always get a good morning text and hope you have a great day. Throughout the day, there would be like, hey, I was just thinking of you, and I'm going to a meeting here. We're there, hanging out with my friends today. Hope you have a great day. So it was these kind of texts that if you're in a real relationship with somebody that you may get or you may look forward to. And so it really turned into this online romance.
Again, this was all carefully orchestrated by the scammers. So in these scam compounds, if you're working as a typer, you've got to communicate with about 20 people every day. Just keep them on the hook, just checking in. How was your meal? How was your sleep? Good morning, that kind of thing. But what's interesting is that Troy eventually asked for a phone call, and this was refused. I was explaining in the previous episode how scammer farms, they've got this whole customer service center of like young women who get on the phones. But for whatever reason, Troy requested a phone call, but didn't get patched through.
And so I even asked her if we could do a video chat and got a very interesting response from that.
What was the response?
So she told me that she was afraid of cameras. And the reason why she was afraid of cameras was because she was doing a video chat with a friend one day. The friend was driving a car. The friend got into an accident and died. And so because of that, she's afraid of cameras. I actually found out through documents later on that that is a canned response, a rehearsed response.
Really? That's scripted?
Absolutely it is. And they still use it today.
Oh, jeez. So how did the conversation pivot from "you're so handsome," romance stuff to, "hey, can you send me money"? Like, where did that come in?
Well, she never asked me to send her money. She told me that she was making money in cryptocurrency. She was mining Ethereum from her crypto wallet.
Okay.
And
what is
so
that?
she was making passive income, about $200 a day, every day, just from the USDT, the tether, that was stored in her crypto wallet. And because it was in her crypto wallet, it was perfectly safe.
All right. I'm not going to go really deep on how this scam worked because, honestly, it's dense. But basically, Troy fell for a subgenre of a pig butchering scam. It's known as a liquidity mining scam. And if you're confused by those words, don't worry about it. You're supposed to be. The whole scam works by confusing people. Basically, Troy was told that he'd be making money by investing it in a kind of fund. So he exchanged his real money, US dollars, for a real cryptocurrency called Tether, which he kept in his own online wallet. But he thought it was his own wallet. But actually, his online girlfriend had set it up for him. And the wallet, it had a hole in it. So every time that Troy deposited money, it was immediately withdrawn by the scammers.
So did you realize what was happening immediately, or did it take you a while to clue on?
It took me a while. When I first started it, I was actually making a little bit of money, and I was withdrawing it to my wallet. But about 3 days in, I wake up one morning, and all the money is out of my wallet. Now, at the time, it was only about $5,000. And some words that had popped up said I had a contract that I needed to put $10,000 in. The website had a customer service button on it. So I could click the customer service button and chat with customer service. They told me that I needed to put $10,000 in my wallet, that my money was safe in the mining pool. If I put $10,000 in, I would get all my money back plus bonuses.
Okay.
I message my girlfriend, online girlfriend, and I say, "What's this?" And this person says, "Oh, you're so lucky. Why, I got that too. And I made a lot of money. We're going to be so rich, honey." They use the honey and the deer, all the pet terms.
Yeah.
We're going to be so rich, you and I. It's going to be okay. Your money is safe. It's just in the mining pool. You're going to be fine. And not only did I have to get $10,000, but I had to do it within it was 4 or 5 days. So, it wasn't a whole lot of time.
So they gave you this sense of urgency.
Exactly.
So he went and took a loan from an online money lender, one with a really nasty interest rate on repayments.
And these financial institutions, loan companies, banks, whatever, there was no kind of warning process, or there was no stage in that application process where they were like, "What is this for? Are you being scammed?"
No, there was nothing like that. It was online. You just fill out an online application and you're approved and the money's transferred to your bank account. But this is not something anybody had ever heard of. In 2021, when I was scammed, nobody knew about this stuff. Nobody had a clue about any of it. Not the media, law enforcement. There was nobody I could talk to. Nobody. In fact, my friends all thought, "Oh, sounds like a great deal.
Really?
I got all this money."
So you told your friends what was going on at the time?
I did.
Not a single person even voiced any concern or nothing like that?
Nope.
Okay.
None.
Damn, that's kind of annoying as well.
Well, it got a little bit worse before it got better.
So Troy borrowed all this money and then messaged customer service to say, "Okay, I've got the money. It's in my wallet."
Okay, the $10,000 is there. They said, "Hold on one moment." And then I looked at my wallet and it was zero. They had taken it out. Now I was furious. And I started texting them, "Where is my money? What happened to this?" And I got a message back. "Your money is safe in the mining pool, but you're supposed to get $200,000 in Ethereum." I believe it was Ethereum is what they told me. But to do that, you have to pay the taxes. The taxes are $35,000.
Oh, God.
It was at that moment I knew I'd been scammed.
Why that moment? Why was that finally the straw that broke the camel's back?
I started messaging them that you don't pay taxes on money you don't have. That just doesn't happen.
That's true.
I messaged my scammer, my online girlfriend. I started asking her, what's going on? Oh, your money is safe. It's just in the mining pool. Just go ahead and pay the taxes. Maybe I can help you with that. I can help pay some of the taxes for you. There was no chance of me getting my money back. There was no chance of me getting any of it. Not even keep your bonuses. Give me my money back that I put in. They weren't going to do anything like that. And it was at that moment that I realized this is a scam. Of course, I didn't pay the $35,000. Didn't have it. I couldn't pay it if I wanted to. And I told them that. So I realized this is some kind of scam.
How did you feel?
I was angry. I was upset. I mean, I felt like an idiot. I even had thoughts of suicide, at one point, because I was starting my life over, and now here I am, not only without money, but $18,000 in debt, and wondering, how am I going to do this now? I tried to call my local police, and of course, they had no clue what was going on. They said there was nothing they could do. So all kinds of feelings just hit me all at once. When I started thinking about suicide, I realized really quickly that that's not going to help. Whoever took my money at the time, they don't care. They don't care that I kill myself. In fact, it's fine by them. That means I can't talk.
I think Troy has enough distance to this event that he can now discuss briefly toying with suicide in a somewhat casual manner, but it must have been devastating. He welcomed this scam into his life because he was already feeling lonely and a bit inadequate. So I can only imagine how it must have felt adding shame and debt into this mix. And I think that explains what he did next, because he went looking for answers and culpability.
I started looking online for this. They called it liquidity mining. I found it on Reddit. There were other victims as well. I learned pretty quickly that we got a major problem on our hands. And from that Reddit group, some of us folks got together. We formed a Facebook group. There's now about 300 of us, mostly victims. There's a few other folks on there. And it was through that Facebook group that I learned about the global anti-scam organization that I'm a part of today.
How much money did you lose in total?
Over $25,000.
And was that a lot within the context of the people that you were talking to in this Facebook group?
No, not at all. I was told that that the average losses of the folks who were joining us, who were finding our organization, I was told the average losses were around $90,000. It would be nothing for some folks to tell us that they lost $100,000, $250,000, $500,000, $1 million. They cashed in 401ks. They sold homes. They got other people involved. And all this it's all part of the scam.
That's tragic. So when you first heard about these walled compounds in Myanmar and Cambodia, what was your response?
I was amazed. I was, I guess, incredulous, because I realized that I'm not the only victim in this. Those of us who've lost money, we're not the only victims. This thing is so far beyond us.
In 2022, Troy became one of the first people to speak publicly about what was happening in Myanmar. The Washington Post was the first big newspaper to share his story, and from there, the world took an interest. Later that same year, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime published the first major report on forced criminality, as they called it. Public awareness of pig butchering scams has only grown since, and Troy, he's a major reason why. These days, he sees himself as kind of like a information curator. He's across all the local reporting from NGOs and media in Southeast Asia, and he distills this stuff into updates on his LinkedIn and his Facebook. So he's a big resource for journalists, law enforcement, and anyone who's been scammed. In fact, at the end of this episode, I'm going to provide details on how you can reach Troy if you've been scammed and you need some guidance. But right now, we're going to take a break, and when we're back, we're going to check in on Q because he is plotting an escape plan. Welcome back. Okay, so you remember Small Q, right? Our Ugandan rapper who flew to Thailand thinking that he'd landed the job of his dreams, only to end up enslaved. Well, at this part in the timeline, Q has been incarcerated for a few months. He's got into the rhythm of survival, but he desperately wants to get out. And he's considered climbing a fence, but the problem is they're huge and they're topped with razor wire. And also he's stuck in a country in the middle of a civil war. Q actually told me he could hear gunfire and explosions most days, so you can imagine that kind of headspace. He's decided that the best bet is to try to get an SOS message to the outside world. But that's hard too, because the scammer farm uses AI to monitor all outgoing messages on the computers, and all of the phones that he's running scams on, they're checked all the time. In fact, here's what Q said.
A supervisor comes randomly, just checks what are you texting. The telegrams on the computers were screen mirrored on these guys' computers. So they monitored us, each and everything we're doing.
Got it.
But at this point, I was someone called Zilong. He called me once in his office and told me, I'm going to teach you something. It was to purchase USA numbers. Going to that office, I was able to see a lot of unused phones there, like phones that are not being used in that room. It was almost 100 phones, iPhone SEs.
100 iPhones, just unused, sitting on this guy's desk. And Q figures if he can just pocket one of them, he can get word out to the outside world.
So what I had to do was to look for a way to access that office, and that only way was to deny working so that they take me to that office, because that's what they told me. If you fail rules and regulations here, we're going to take you to our office where you won't even survive a day.
So Q decided that he'd refuse to work, so they'd take him upstairs to the boss's office to be punished, where hopefully he was going to be able to swipe a phone.
I refused to type for some hours. So the supervisor came to me and said, why are you not working? I didn't reply to him. Why are you not working? I didn't reply to him. He said, I'm going to call your boss. I didn't still do anything. So he communicated to him through Telegram because I saw him texting. Then he was told to pick me up and take me to the other place.
Small Q was bundled into this upstairs office where he found the boss was already punishing a teenage boy. And I just want to warn you, from this point, the story gets pretty violent.
I saw a Chinese young boy, younger than me, down on the floor on handcuffs, being electrified by this guy. That's what I found him doing. But this guy looked to be even, what can I say, uncautious. But the guy was still punishing him. So I knew this is what is going to happen to me now. I was in my black jumper. It had some pockets here. I know he tried to remove it. Then I said, no, don't get it off me, because I knew it's going to be so painful when he put that electric stick on me. These guys holding me like this. Then they started electrifying me for almost 30 minutes. But nothing I could do, man. These were like military guys holding me.
Just for anyone who is unclear about what a taser is, it's a stick with an electric current coming out of one end, and it's used to electrocute people. Tasers are the most common form of punishment through all scammer farms, so you're going to hear about them a lot. Which is why I want to play you a short clip. It's a clip that was shot on someone's phone, and it's been smuggled out of a scammer farm. And it's of a prisoner getting tasered. And I want to show you this just to highlight not just what Q went through, but what everyone in these compounds goes through. And heads up, it's horrible, but it'll be over in about 10 seconds.
But now imagine that for 30 minutes. The pain is unexplainable. That's what I can tell you, my brother. You feel like you don't even think about anything. Your brain freezes. They are animals. That's the right word for them.
I mean, animals don't behave like this. They're far worse. These guys are sadistic.
Doing this to me was actually laughing. But I didn't forget my plan. Right there,
man.
as I was kneeling down, I was near a table. Because I used to fight, heading the other side of the table which had the phones. I'm from a Christian family, my brother. I wouldn't say stealing is something good, but at this point I had to do it. I stole a phone from this table and I put it in my pocket.
How did you do that while you were getting electrocuted?
These guys were focusing on other steps. He was shouting to them and they were replying to him. So it is this moment that I used to access and, get that phone very quietly and put it in my pocket in that jumper.
Wow.
I knew there were cameras, I knew there were everything, but I just prayed to God because I actually also knew they were going to check me when I'm getting out because they used to check each and everyone was coming. So I put it in my pockets and I knew either I go out alive or if they know that I have taken this phone, I'm going to die in this place.
Hearing Q tell this story makes my hair stand on end. In this compound, if someone had decided to frisk Q as he left the office, it wouldn't have ended well.
Live around the guy I saw dying. Each and every day we used to look for people that, where's this guy? Where's this Ethiopian guy? We don't see him anymore. They were always killed and put on rivers and their bodies were taken. Yes, my brother.
Really? People would just disappear and you'd never know what happened to them.
I was able to go out of this office safely. The fact that I was being punished, so the bodyguards wouldn't mind. They knew I couldn't do anything suspicious. So God helped me. I passed, that door. I was taken back to that office. I just pulled out this phone. I put it among these ones. So that's when I was able to, between that.
Between
So that's
shifts.
when I was able to, to get that phone from that office. Getting it inside, the dormitory, my guys were just celebrating. We're like, man, you've got us out of this place. They actually rose me like this. They're like, man, you've did it. Now we have access to communicate to our people back home. My guys were so happy. And we had the hope now that we're going to communicate back home. Actually, the phone I'm talking about, I have it even here. I came back with it from that hell.
This is the phone that saved your life. Wow, that's the best looking phone I've ever seen. I mean, it's like an iPhone S from 10 years ago, but it's a life-saving phone.
It was like a souvenir, something that I wanted to come back with to know that I was able to get out of that place.
In the next episode, we're going to continue to follow Q's story of escape. And heads up, it's very exciting stuff. So subscribe, don't miss the episode. And if you find yourself a victim of a romantically related crypto scam, or maybe you know someone who is, and you might be looking for advice, Troy says he'd be happy to help. In fact, here's what he said.
Look up the Global Anti-Scam Organization. Our website is globalantiscam.org. If you email the press at globalantiscam.org, I answer the press email. Maybe I can save somebody, or maybe they can tell somebody and save them.
Thanks for listening, and if you're enjoying it and want to support in a small but very meaningful way, please subscribe. And a big thanks to Judah Tanner from Global Advanced Projects, without whom this series would not have happened. Scammerland is produced by Rachel Tuffrey. Editing is by me, Rachel Tuffrey, and Jamie Snyder. Mixed by Jimmy Saunders, who also did our sound design. Our cover art is by Rich Akers. Our interns are Nina Fussell and Ellie Dickey. And this whole thing has been a Superreal production.
Superreal.